Have you ever asked yourself, how much could I read in 24 hours? Hi friends and readers, this week's reading vlog is how much can I read in 24 hours? And I'm gonna call this Vic's version. We're gonna have 5 rules today for this reading challenge of how much I can read in 24 hours. And let's go through those rules right now. Rule number 1, have fun. This 24-hour challenge for me is a day off. It's Black Friday and I wanna spend my day off having fun and reading. Rule number 2, and this may be controversial for you depending on why you clicked on this video, we will not be stopping the 24-hour timer today. My timer is gonna run through my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner, and while I sleep tonight. Rule number 3, and this is going to be the biggest rule for me, and that is no social media for the next 24 hours. The goal for my challenge today is the first thing I do, my first priority is to pick up a book and read. Instead of all of the times in my day where I would pick up my phone to watch TikTok or to browse through online Black Friday shopping, I want to pick up my book instead. Rule number 4 is that life goes on. It is Black Friday, so I have the full day off, but I still have things that I still have to accomplish today, like need to do laundry, need to clean up the house, and need to reset the cat's litter boxes, which leads me to rule number 5, and that is that audiobooks will count today towards my reading. I have to do those life goes on tasks and I still want to prioritize reading for the day, so I will be listening to audiobooks while doing those tasks. Also, for this entire day that I want to pick up reading, I'm gonna need a little bit of breaks in my day to actually accomplish reading all day, so I may need to go on a walk or I may need to do a little hobby, and then those are the times where I'm still gonna prioritize by listening to the audiobooks. Alright, we are just about ready to start this challenge. I need to do a few things. It's currently 8:34 a.m. I'm gonna take my iPad and set the auto lock to never, so that way I can always see the 24 hours winding down on my iPad. I'm also going to set my stuff to do not disturb. This is my first ever challenge like this and I'm super excited to try it out just to see how much we could accomplish in one day. And then I'm going to my alarm or my clock on my iPad, and I don't think that you can set it to exactly 24 hours. I think it has to be 23 hours and 59 minutes and 59 seconds. We're gonna name this the 24-hour challenge. It's 8:35 a.m. and we are going to start this challenge right now. As you have gathered now, this is a 24-hour challenge, but it is the most literal sense of how much can I read in 24 hours. So I'm going to be prioritizing reading today, but I'm also just going to be living life today. And so the timer will not stop. It is a genuine idea of how much I can read. We are into hour 22:50, so I read for just over an hour now, and hour and 10 minutes it seems, and I wanted to provide you with an update. I've made it to chapter 5 of the first book that I'll be reading today, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through any other books today. I am certainly going to try. I have no idea. I've never done anything like this, but this is a longer book for me. We are reading Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is book number 1 in what I believe is going to be a trilogy. I'm on page 55 of 609. So depending on how much audio I listen to and how much I just straight through today may determine if I can finish this book within the 24-hour period. So we are on chapter 5 and this puts me 12% of the way through, having read 55 pages in about an hour. I've spent the last few minutes looking into this book and this series and this author, and I am reading this on my Kindle because the first book in the series, which is Quicksilver, is on Kindle Unlimited. read. The cover of this book has mocked me almost. I feel like every time I go out book shopping, I see this face on this cover, wherever it is on the screen, looking dead on at me. My local bookstore had always displayed it with the full cover facing outward on the shelf. So anytime I walked into the bookstore, I would always see whoever this is on the cover. This is going to be the first book that I read by Callie Hart. And as I was saying earlier, it is a part of what I believe is going to be a trilogy. It is called Fae and Alchemy series, and book number 1 is Quicksilver, which is what we're reading today. Book number 2, I've been seeing all the hype about around everywhere and everyone, because book number 2 I think just came out like within the last week or two. It's called Brimstone, I think, and I've just seen this really dark, earthy, fire looking cover, and I can see everyone's excitement around the series. And I had it on my TBR for a while now, and I thought, what a perfect time to go ahead and read it. If I really like book number 1, I already have book number 2 waiting for me, and my friend from work said that there's a cliffhanger at book number 1. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. Here we are. And I don't think that the third book has been announced just yet in the series, because book number 2 quite literally just came out. What I am most excited about having started this series now is that it's a romantasy, I believe, and I've been really looking for a good romantasy series. I've just felt like I haven't been diving into a well thought out series recently, and it's something I've been looking for. So I hope this is that for me. And a trilogy is not too bad. And also, I wanted to go on to Goodreads just to see what everyone else thinks about the series so far. And Quicksilver has 716,000 reviews already with a 4.34 star rating. So in my opinion, that seems like a really good overall experience for readers. And so 55 pages in, I did not read a summary of this book before starting. All I could gather was the person on the front of the cover, what it was called, Quicksilver, and the name of the series, Fae and Alchemy. And I will say, reading that has given me a little bit more insight that I don't necessarily know too much about 55 pages in just yet. We are following Saris Fane. I think it's Saris. There's a nice pronunciation guide at the very front of the book, so that was helpful, but you do have to keep going back and forth to it. I should probably take a picture. We're gonna go with Saris. She's a 24-year-old. She is single, so that we know, and she lives in a brutal, harsh desert, it seems. I don't know the name of this land just yet, I don't believe. She pretty much is like fighting day to day to live. She has to steal things in this world because she lives in what's called the third ward. There are a bunch of different wards, and her ward in particular is basically the lowest on the totem pole. They give them dirty, nasty water, so they have to steal water from other wards to live. They think that they are all plagued with disease, but in reality, they've just banished these people with no resources. So no one wants to go near anyone from the third ward, and she and her younger brother are just trying to survive day to day, getting fresh water, stealing things to have money for food, bartering, because they really just live in this isolated ward. And of course, when you have people in these lower wards, you have people who are in the higher wards, and we have the undying queen. We know that this queen is thousands of years old, but we don't know why or how, and neither do the people apparently. But from the get, Saris is caught stealing from the queen in capacity of stealing from one of the queen's guards, and she is caught. In conversation with how she is caught and her punishment, we are starting to learn that the queen thinks that the Fae are coming after her, and that's pretty much where we're ending. Obviously, from the series title, Fae and Alchemy, we know that the Fae are going to be introduced. I just don't know yet how, and I'm sure that's something that's probably on the summary of the book, but I didn't read it directly. But I think that that's how we would probably be introduced to our other main character. We'll see though. And then the last thing is that our main character, Saris, it seems like she's gonna have some sort of alchemist power that has something to do with wielding metals, or maybe iron, silver. We'll also see on that. Anywho's, our timer is clicking down. I'm on chapter 5, going to keep reading. I think I'm gonna grab a little breakfast sandwich from my freezer, make a coffee, and get back to just reading straight through this morning. Okay, I have come outside, so sorry for any sounds from the outdoors, to update you where we're at so far and how much I can read in 24 hours. I'm on the patio. My cats love coming out here, but it's like 40 degrees today, so they have their sweaters on and they look precious. I just got done eating leftover Thanksgiving, which was yummy with my boyfriend, so I did not during lunch today, but we are picking right back up. It's 12:34 and we are 45 seconds from 20 hours left on this challenge. So we're gonna start reading again. I have made it to, I stopped in the middle of a chapter because it had one of these breaks where this little sword icon kind of splits up what's happening. I'm on page 143, which is 26% of the way through the book, Quicksilver, and I want to update you just a little. I took some notes on my phone. Okay, so we have definitely met the guy on the cover that has been haunting me in all the bookstores that I've gone through. That is Kingfisher, who is Fae. Our main character has somehow, some way stumbled into a Fae world, and I did check, and that is on the back of the story, so you can find that in any summary. And we are learning so much about her world, which is the Silver City, and then the Fae world, and how they may be connected, maybe not connected, and how the heck she was able to get there. And by her learning about the Fae world, I am also learning so much about her and the world she's in. We did meet someone very early on in the Silver City who I think is going to become very important later on in this series, but that's all I'll say about that person. And she is discovering her alchemy powers, how they presented themselves in the Silver City as she was a thief trying to steal things, trying to get out of situations and problems with the guards and the queen, versus how her powers might come to be as an alchemist in the Fae world, and why that would be so important for this story. It's very intriguing so far. I find myself, I just want to keep reading and keep reading because she's putting together all of these puzzle pieces, and therefore I'm putting together all the puzzle pieces, and I'm having a good time. So we're gonna keep pushing through. I am kicking my feet and giggling right now. I just got to chapter 13. It really has not been long since I last talked to you, which is page 182. I don't even think it's been that many pages at all. And I'm on hour 1908, which means we're about 5 hours almost into this challenge. In the next few 8 minutes, we'll be 5 hours into the challenge. And I really have not read nearly as much as I thought I would in 5 hours, which is weird because I still haven't picked up my phone. I haven't done anything extra. I've just read and talked to my boyfriend a little, ate breakfast and lunch. But hey, I feel good about all of that. I've been following my 5 rules and I'm just giggling so much. I hope that we just got a brief little introduction of an animal into the story. And from what I hear, I think that this could be a little sidekick. And I love when there's a little animal sidekick, and especially this animal. It seems like it's gonna be so cute to have around, so I hope the animal does stick around. They keep mentioning Kingfisher's sort of like emblems, whether it's tattoos or things carved into his armor, and I feel like that's been mentioned a lot, so I wonder if it's going to come up to be significant. And then finally, I love the interactions between Fae and humans, because the Fae can see and hear and smell things that humans are so oblivious to, and it makes for hilarious banter between our main character and Kingfisher. I keep forgetting her name. It's harder to pronounce, but it just makes for funny banter, good tension, because he can hear, smell, and see things that she has no clue or can't control, and it's just hilarious. We're gonna keep reading. I think I'm about to go on a walk and listen to it for the first time. I need to see the sun before it gets dark in the next few hours. It is already getting dimmer outside, which is crazy. It's just barely 3:49 or just barely 4 o'clock, almost 4 o'clock. I can't talk. I've spent the last few hours, I went on a walk and then I just cleaned the whole house, dusted, disinfected everything and did some loads of laundry through, just vacuumed the whole house. And I am disgustingly disgusting. So while I've been doing that, I have been listening to Quicksilver on my phone. I had Spotify premium hours left over. I don't know how many I have left now, and they don't renew until the middle of next month. So I'm a little bit worried about that because I've been listening on 2 times speed for a long time now. We've made it into chapter 19. It's a really long chapter. I'm 34 minutes into this chapter listening, and there's still 20 minutes left of the chapter. So these are longer chapters in Quicksilver. There's a lot of plot building right now. We are trying to essentially bridge the gap from learning all the characters to now knowing the characters to there's going to be conflict towards the end of the story, and we're kind of in the middle right now. So honestly, I'm glad that I'm listening to it. I am going to probably take a quick break from listening to shower. Then I'm gonna finish listening to this chapter after I put my clothes away. I'm gonna hold up some clothes and put those away after my shower. And then for the rest of the evening, I believe, at least I plan, to just read for the whole rest of the night after dinner. This is our timer. We're at 16 hours and 45 minutes. We started at like 8:30 something this morning and it's 3:51. I'll have to, once I start reading again, let you know how many pages I went from last read to audiobook hours to starting to read again, how many audiobook hours correlated to how many pages, if that makes sense. But I'm gonna shower and I'll talk to you later. Okay, okay. I was like, what? Okay. I just said okay 8 times. The timer is at 15:34. It's currently 5 o'clock p.m. I am sitting down to read. I have showered up, done my laundry, and listened to the audiobook for a few hours now. I think a long time. And I was on page 182 before I started listening to the audiobook earlier. And we are now on page 324. I'm not very good at math, but 324 minus 182. We've listened to about 142 pages. So we've still read more on the Kindle than we have listened. And I anticipate that I will finish off having read more because I plan on reading most of the night actually. I may listen to do some little craft later, but for now we're just going to read all night. And we are on chapter 21. So let the reading commence. Coming to you with yet another update. You've heard me talk all day actually. We are at 14, can you see that? 14:19:35. It's currently 6:16 p.m. I am stopping in the middle of the chapter because my boyfriend is on his way home with Chipotle and I need to feed the cats before he gets home so we can also eat peacefully while the cats eat peacefully. I'm on page 383, so we've made some headway since the last time I talked, and I'm in the chapter 25. These are long chapters. My reading pace, my Kindle is telling me it's about 20 minutes through each chapter, and this is 63% of the way through the book. Have some thoughts that I wrote down to check in with you about Quicksilver. Man, oh man, I'm still really enjoying it. With this fantasy story, we're starting to see more and more fantasy, kind of more whimsical fantasy in the side characters or the setting. They're talking about sprites, vampires, nymphs, but for the most part we're just seeing our female main character Cyrus, I believe, is human, and then we have Kingfisher, who is fae. So we're seeing a lot of fae in the story, and then we're also seeing vampires, and then there's these cute little sprites that we get to see. But the fae feel a little bit different in this story than any other fantasy that I've read with fae, in that there seems to be more of a focus on vampires and canine teeth. And I don't know if I just haven't read enough stories about fae to know if that's normal for the fae world or what. But one thing that I know near and dear about fae is there's one particular thing that I feel like I connect fae with when it comes to relationships. I'm thinking ACOTAR, in specific of what fae really means to them. And I'm wondering if that's going to pop up in this story. Is that usual for the fae stories in fantasy? I'm being very vague. Kingfisher, this guy is powerful. Shadow Daddy, I like him. Then lastly, if you are one for the spice or not one for the spice, this is a spicy romantasy so far. If you know the difference between, I see people make very big distinctions between fantasy with some romance versus romantasy. If you think you have a good explanation, I'd love to hear from you in the comments on how you can decipher that before going into a book, because I know some people prefer fantasy with the side of romance and some people prefer romantasy. I think I prefer romantasy. Anywho's, I'm gonna go feed my cat, eat some dinner, and then we'll pick up reading again later this evening. I am getting ready for bed. We have 10 hours left, 10 hours and 1 minute left on the timer, and it is 10:33 p.m. I'm on page 507, 82% of the way book, and we are leading up to a pretty big, what I anticipate to be battle scene, sort of, and I can't imagine things can resolve with so many unanswered loops and plot holes so far, but I can see how this might be building up to book number 2, and I'm so glad that I don't have to wait to read book number 2. But I'm settling in for bed, so we'll probably read for the next 30 or so minutes, but this is typically the time of the night, if I'm reading in bed with my Kindle, that it puts me to sleep. So we might have to pick up just before the timer is finished in the morning. Hope to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Talk to you then. It is Saturday morning and my clock has 5 seconds left. Here it goes. We have finished the 24-hour challenge. I just stopped that, but I am going to keep reading. I am officially marking at the end of the 24 hours, I read 591 pages, or that's where I finished in this book, but I am so close to finishing the book, less than 30 minutes of reading, so I'm just going to keep reading and come back to you once I'm done reading to let you know my thoughts on the book. Even though it's out of the 24 hours, I'm just gonna finish. I have a precious little baby in my lap, so I'm gonna finish this out, see if she stays the whole time. I have concluded how much I can read in 24 hours, and I've also finished Quicksilver by Callie Hart. And I have a lot of thought. First, just the 24-hour challenge. I really think that putting all my devices on Do Not Disturb was what really helped me actually prioritize reading the last 24 hours. I didn't see notifications coming through, so I wasn't grabbing to pick up my phone. And then having made the rule for myself of no social media, that especially made me not want to grab for my phone. So we did complete all 5 rules. I had so much fun doing this. I'm so glad that I picked Quicksilver to read. I think that contributed a lot. Number 2, I never stopped the timer. We in fact finished 24 hours after I started the timer. Number 3, no social media. I did not get on TikTok, Instagram, anything like that in the last 24 hours. Life went on. I was able to clean my house yesterday and do my laundry yesterday. And with number 5, I was able to read a lot with the audiobook hours, and I think that was the perfect balance for me. I'm someone who needs a full 8 hours of sleep, and also I have things to get done. So this version of the challenge was really fun and motivating for me. I feel like I read a lot more than I would have had I not slept or not been able to do the other things around my house that I needed to get done, and I'm super glad that I did this. I would recommend it to anyone. If the other 24-hour challenges out there are super daunting and you don't have 24 real hours to set aside to only read, then try something out like this. And then my final thoughts on Quicksilver. One thing is that I decided to do the 24 hours yesterday in the morning because I have somewhere to be at 10 o'clock today, so I knew I needed to finish by today. Quicksilver. I was going in to rate this book and I rated it a 5-star because I couldn't think of why I didn't want to rate it a 5-star. I think reading it through in the last 24 hours certainly contributed to being immersed and feeling like I was in the story. This was probably one of the longer books I've read in a while, 609 pages, and I was picking up on things that I never pick up on a story. I felt like I knew, okay, this is how fae stories typically go, and this is how alchemy could go, and this is how the humans interact with faes, and I would pick up little clues here and there, and I guessed something that I mentioned earlier in the video, but I didn't feel discouraged by actually understanding how the story was going to end up. I did not guess the plot twist at the end of the story, and it does leave you on sort of a cliffhanger to go into Brimstone. So I'm super excited to pick up Brimstone. Hopefully, I had some video ideas in mind. Now I kind of want to rearrange them so I can go ahead and pick up Brimstone. All that to say, this was a 5-star read for me. I really hope we get a little bit more of Onyx in Brimstone, and we have so many things that got brief explanations on how we could finish them up in the book at the end, but I know have got to be delved into way more in book number 2. There are so many worlds that we learn about in the beginning of the story that we kind of move settings into towards the last half of the book that I know we've got to revisit, and I'm really excited to. I just had such a fun time. Thanks for joining me if you made it this far, and that's all. Bye for now.